Right. G'day, everybody. Right, I think I may actually be streaming right about now. So, if it's working, you're always free to let me know. That'd be great. So if you are in the chat, let me know how you're going. Let me know who's there. Let me know all that kind of stuff. Mostly just so I know that that we made it. We made it to the live. But from now on, I'll mostly be talking to you boys. It's me, Dad. Depending on the day, Daddy. But I don't think you guys have called me Daddy for a while now. When is the last time you guys called me Daddy? It's been a while. Right, okay. So, let's just double check what's going on here. I'm gonna quickly let's just double check what's going on here. Yep, there we go. Alright, I'm just gonna leave that down there. And that way, I need to get a little, I've used this so that you guys can see what the go is. But what I really need is, oh God, what I really need is a little phone holder or something like that. It's the little things in life that make things easier. All right, so today we're going to get straight into it. I don't have much to say. It's been a pretty good day. Been a busy day at work. Yeah, nothing too major though. And Younger, you got a haircut with Mum. It was her day off today with you, so she went and got a haircut with you at a new place, a new barber in town, and we were pretty keen to see if she was any good. And when Mum sent pictures of you, to me, when I was at work, I thought, well, the haircut looks good enough. I guess I'll go and get a haircut next. So, yeah, I got a haircut too. So between last stream yesterday, 24 hours ago, and now, voila. And this is a year of embracing change. And so this is me coming out of my shell on the channel and trying to get a little bit more up and personal with the viewership. I mean, the viewership is you, boys, but anyone else who wants to come and join in as well probably would like to know that I'm not an AI voice, and hopefully this will convince them. And also, coming out of my shell means embracing this hairline. Okay, see this freckle here? Surely, I don't know if you can see it. There's a freckle somewhere around here. All right? And that freckle actually used to be covered in hair when I was in high school 20 years ago. So it's a year of embracing change, and without further ado, let's get into it because I'm pretty keen to get narrating tonight. So I'll just double check the stream health. Yep, we're looking pretty healthy. All right, so tonight we're going to read this story here. It's called The Machine Stops, and I'm extremely keen to read this. The catch with this, though, is that I've not finished it. So unusually for me, I've pre-read this story, mostly today during lazy moments at work. But I think I've read about halfway through it, maybe just before halfway. I got to tell you, this story is going to blow your mind, okay? If you've never read this story, before you watch this, just be ready. It was written in when was it written? 1928 was the book, but I think the actual short story was written before that. So, The Machine Stops. Let's see when it was actually published. Anyway, published. It was published in. This does not work. Why won't it tell me? Anyway, It was published as, at least in this iteration, as part of this book called The Eternal Moment and Other Stories. And it's the first book in the story, in the book, like the first, first story in the book. So before we get started, I've got my my effects. I'm just going to chuck in a couple of effects here on my my recording. So we're recording this as an audiobook tonight. It's going to be a bit of a long slog. I think it's about 9,000 to 10,000 words, which means that we're going to be here for a while. So if you're passing by in the chat, or if you are my demographic, which is my two sons, aged 6 and 3, watching this at some point in the future, then as this is the whole point of the channel, making recordings for them, I'm just putting in this effect here of a mouth declicker. But if you are that person, if you are just hanging out in the chat, or you are one of my two sons who's watching this at some point in the future, just know that you'll be here for a fair while. If you are someone in the chat, feel free to say hi, especially if you're in the vertical chat, you've just been scrolling through. Say hi, chuck a like, chuck a subscription, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to beg, though, because this channel isn't about you, it's about my sons, like I said. So, alrighty. Quick drink of water, we're going to get straight into it. This is crazy because it continues the theme of last night, looking at like some of the most realistic post-apocalyptic looks at our lives on this earth. And I think this is a crazy depiction with not too many tweaks and with a bit of imagination of what we're living now, including me. Don't forget, as we read this, the irony of me sitting in a small, self-contained room with buttons all around me for everything and remote controls, as you read about someone who lives in a honeycomb society of apartment blocks that are completely underground, subterranean, dark, and completely climate-controlled, and never wanting to leave. And you've heard me talk about this before, but how much I love coming in here and just, yeah, recording stuff, in particular for you guys. So, right, I am about to say this as well as we start recording the audiobook, but as always, boys, yeah, I love you. And we've had a great evening together. Auntie Sugar came over, and she came over to drop off some hand-me-down clothes that she had gotten, and they're basically new. It was amazing. Never say no, especially in 2026, to some free clothes. She stayed for dinner, lasagna, which is her favorite, and then we watched most of K-pop Demon Hunters all together. You guys jumped around the place and tried to tell her the whole plot while she tried to watch it with us, and I think it actually added to the experience having you guys jumping around and doing that. So that was pretty fun. And then late bedtime, watching Kid Time Story Time, because it's the weekend tonight. It's Friday night, so gonna give Mummy a sleep in tomorrow. Gonna give Mum a sleep in tomorrow, so that means that I am gonna try and get this done as soon as possible. She'll wake up whenever she wants. I'll wake up. I'll probably go to sleep in your room tonight with one of you guys, and then wake up in the morning. We'll make some pancakes. Or have some porridge or whatever you guys want to have a brekkie, and then we're probably going to head into the garage and then head out and hang out with the pets, all the ducks and the dog and stuff like that. When Mummy wakes up, I'll probably go and sneak a little nap in, and then we're going to go bowling. We're going to go bowling and then to one of our local watering holes to hang out with some family friends, which is going to be really fun. So, yeah, trying to be social. Trying to be more social in 2026. Pardon me, that's just a little burp there. All right, that's also too much information. Let's get going. And we'll transform this into an audiobook. Oh, and last thing, I've done a lot of, this is by the by, but just the state of the world at the moment is dire compared to what it was even a year and a bit ago, especially since a year and a bit ago. And the knock-on effects from international relations has not been great for us. I'm not going to get too much into it, but on a personal scale, it's been necessary to kind of cancel some of my subscriptions. So just stuff like Patreon, John's Sleepy Stories, which is another channel that I subscribe to off this channel, and he's amazing. He's got an amazing voice, and he's so calm, and he reads like this. He doesn't read anything like that, but he's really calm, and I've had to cancel my Patreon subscription to him, which is a bit sad. But I've also had to like cancel the music service that I use, like for backing tracks for other YouTube channels. That's okay. I can work around that. We've cancelled a couple of streaming services. We've paused our Audible subscription for 90 days. They let you do that. Geez, Audible's changed. When we first signed up to it back in like 2016 or so, the promise was with the app that, you know, no matter how long you subscribed for, if you stopped the next day, any audiobooks you bought were yours forever. But that is no longer the case. So this fucking world we live in is just diabolical. Anyway, let's get started. So I'm going to quickly just save this good habits and all that, and it's called The Machine Stops. Okay, the machine stops. Let's go. All right. I'm going to just got my phone down there. Right, let's go. And I'll do some listen tests as well. Let's go. We'll just... G'day, welcome back to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. Today we're going to record The Machine Stops in total. No. G'day, welcome. Let's just put on the multi-view so we can see the spectrograph. Spectrogram. All right. G'day, welcome back to Boring Dad Sleep Stories. Today we're going to read The Machine Stops by... Oh, Christ. Today we're going to read The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster. Boys, this is, I reckon, hands down, one of the most incredible stories I've ever read in any form. Not just in terms of sci-fi, but just in terms of stories of the human condition and things like that, and what we could become if we're not careful, and some would argue we already have become to some extent. So let's not hail the machine, and let's live our life. Avanti. No, let's put in a love you there, because I do love you. Love you, boys. So much. Avanti. Part 1. The Airship. Imagine, if you can, a small room, hexagonal in shape, like the cell of a bee. It is lighted neither by window nor by lamp, yet it is filled with a soft radiance. There are no apertures for ventilation, yet the air is fresh. There are no musical instruments, and yet, at the moment that my meditation opens, this room is throbbing with melodious sounds. An armchair is in the center. By its side, a reading desk. And that is all the furniture. And in the armchair there sits a swaddled lump of flesh, a woman about 5 feet high, with a face as white as a fungus. It is to her that the little room belongs. An electric bell rang. An electric bell rang. The woman touched a switch, and the music was silent. I suppose I must see who it is, she thought, and set her chair. I suppose I must see who it is, she thought, and set her chair in motion. The chair, like the music, was worked by machinery, and had rolled her to the other side of the room, where the bell still rang importunately. Importunately? Importunately. Who is it? She called. No, she's irritable, right. Who is it? She called. Her voice was irritable, for she had been interrupted. Let's try again. Who is it? She called. Her voice was irritable, for she had been interrupted often since the music began. She knew several thousand people. In certain directions, human intercourse had advanced enormously. But when she listened into the receiver, her white face wrinkled into smiles, and she said, "Very well. Let us talk. I will isolate myself. I do not expect anything important will happen for the next 5 minutes, for I can give you fully 5 minutes, Kuno. Then I must deliver my lecture on music during the Australian period. She touched the isolation knob so that no one else could speak to her. Then she touched the light. Then she touched the lighting apparatus, and the little room was plunged into darkness. "Be quick," she called, her irritation returning. "Be quick, Kuno. Here I am in the dark, wasting my time." But it was fully 15 seconds before the round plate that she held in her hands began to glow. A faint blue light shot across it, darkening to purple, and presently she could see the image of her son, who lived on the other side of the earth, and he could see her. "Kuno, how slow you are," he smiled gravely. "I really do believe..." "Kuno, how slow you are," he smiled gravely. Why can't I read that? "I really believe you enjoy dawdling. I've called you before, Mother, but you were always busy or isolated. I have something particular to say." "What is it, dearest boy?" "I really believe you enjoy dawdling." "I've called you before, Mother, but you were always busy or isolated. I have something particular to say." "I really believe you enjoy dawdling." "I've called you before, Mother, but you were always busy or isolated. I have something particular to say." "What is it, dearest boy? Be quick. Why could you not send it by pneumatic post?" "Because I prefer saying such a thing. I want... Well, I want you to come and see me." Vashti watched his face in the blue plate. "But I can't see you," she exclaimed. "What more do you want?" "I want to see you not through the machine," said Kuno. "I want to speak to you not through the wearisome machine." "Oh, hush," said his mother, vaguely shocked. "You mustn't say anything against the machine." "Why not?" "One mustn't." "You talk as if a god had made the machine," cried the other. "I believe that you pray to it when you're unhappy. Men made it, do not forget that. Great men, but men. The machine is much, but it is not everything. I see something like you in this plate, but I do not see you. I hear something like you through this telephone, but I do not hear you. That is why I want you to come. Come and stop with me. Pay me a visit, so that we can meet face to face and talk about the hopes that are in my mind." Oh, sugar. Bugger. I don't like that, what I've just done there.
Why not? You mustn't say anything against the machine.
Why not?
You mustn't say anything against the machine.
Why not?
One mustn't.
Oh, you talk as if a god had made the machine, cried the other. I believe that you pray to it when you're unhappy.
God had made the machine, cried the other.
I believe that you pray to it when you're unhappy. Men made it. Do not forget that. Great men, but men. The machine is much, but it is not everything. I see something like you in this plate, but I do not see you. I hear something like you through this telephone, but I do not hear you. That is why I want you to come. Come and stop with me. Pay me a visit so that we can meet face to face and talk about the hopes that are in my mind. She replied that she could scarcely spare the time for a visit. The airship takes barely 2 days. Oh, yeah.
And talk about the hopes that are in my mind.
She replied that she could scarcely spare the time for a visit. The airship barely takes 2 days to fly between me and you. I dislike airships. Why? I dislike seeing the horrible brown earth, and the sea, and the stars when it is dark. Ugh, I get no ideas in an airship. I do not get them anywhere else. What kind of ideas can the air give you? Pardon me. Pardon me. I do not get them anywhere else. What kind of ideas can the air give you? He paused for an instant. Do you not know... Do you not know 4 big stars that form an oblong, and 3 stars close together in the middle of the oblong, and hanging from these stars 3 other stars? No, I do not. I dislike stars. But did they give you an idea? How interesting. Tell me. I had an idea that they were like a man. I do not understand. The 4 big stars are the man's shoulders and his knees. The 3 stars in the middle are like the belts that men wore once, and the 3 stars hanging are like a sword. A sword? Men carried swords about with them to kill animals and other men. It does not strike me as a very good idea, but it's certainly original. When did it come to you first? In the airship, he broke off. And she... When did it come to you first? Swords about with them to kill animals and other men. It does not strike me as a very good idea, but it certainly is original. When did it come to you first? In the airship. He broke off, and she fancied that he looked sad. She could not be sure, for the machine did not transmit nuances of expression. It only gave a general idea of people, an idea that was good enough for all practical purposes, Vashti thought. Fuck, why does it do that? The desk just randomly clicks like it's... I don't know. In the airship... He broke off, and she fancied that he looked sad. She could not be sure, for the machine did not transmit nuances of expression. It only gave a general idea of people, an idea that was good enough for all practical purposes, Vashti thought. The imponderable bloom declared by... The imponderable bloom, declared by a discredited philosophy to be the actual essence of intercourse, was rightly ignored by the machine, just as the imponderable bloom of the grape was ignored by the manufacturers of artificial fruit. Something good enough had long since been accepted by our race. The truth is, he continued, that I want to see these stars again. They're curious stars. I want to see them not from the airship, but from the surface of the earth, as our ancestors did thousands of years ago. I want to visit the surface of the earth. She was shocked again. Mother, you must come, if only to explain to me what the harm... I want to visit the surface of the earth. She was shocked again. Mother, you must come, if only to explain to me what is the harm of visiting the surface of the earth. No harm, she replied, controlling herself, but no advantage. The surface of the earth is only dust and mud. No life remains on it, and you would need a respirator, or the cold of the outer air would kill you. One dies immediately in the outer air. I know. Of course I shall take all precautions. And besides, well, she considered, and chose her words with care. Her son had a queer temper, and she wished to dissuade him from the expedition. It is contrary to the spirit of the age, she asserted. Do you mean by that I gotta remember to breathe.
From the expedition.
It is contrary to the spirit of the age.
And she wished to dissuade him from the expedition.
It is contrary to the spirit of the age, she asserted. Do you mean by that contrary to the machine? In a sense, but his image in the blue plate faded. Kuno! He had isolated himself. For a moment, Vashti felt lonely. Then she generated the light, and the sight of her room, flooded with radiance and studded with electric buttons, revived her. There were buttons and switches everywhere. Buttons to call for food, for music, for clothing. There was the hot bath button, by pressure of which a basin of imitation marble rose out of the floor, filled to the brim with a warm, deodorized liquid. There was the cold bath button. There was the button that produced literature. And there were, of course, the buttons by which she communicated with her friends. The room, though it contained nothing, was in touch with all that she cared for in the world. Vashti's next move was to turn off the isolation switch, and all the accumulations of the last 3 minutes burst upon her. The room was filled with the noise of bells and speaking tubes. What was the new food like? Could she recommend it? Had she had any ideas lately? Might one tell her one's own ideas? Would she make an engagement to visit the public nurseries at an early date? Say this day, month? To most of these questions she replied with irritation, a growing quality in that accelerated age.
A growing quality in that accelerated age.
She said that the new food was horrible, that she could not visit the public nurseries through press of engagements, that she had no ideas of her own, but had just been told one, that 4 stars and 3 in the middle were like a man. She doubted there was much in it. Then she switched off her correspondence, for it was time to deliver her lecture on Australian music. Holy fuck. I'm pooped already. Feeling it tonight. We gotta push through. All right.
To deliver her lecture on Australian music.
Where am I up to?
To deliver her lecture on Australian music.
The clumsy system of public gatherings had long...
To deliver her lecture on Australian music.
The clumsy system of public gatherings that had been long since abandoned. Neither Vashti nor her audience stirred, had been long since abandoned. The clumsy system of public gatherings had been long since abandoned. Neither Vashti nor her audience stirred from their rooms. Seated in her armchair, she spoke, while they, in their armchairs, heard her fairly well and saw her fairly well. She opened with a humorous account of music in the pre-Mongolian epoch, and went on to describe the great outburst of song that followed the Chinese conquest. Remote and primeval as were the methods. Oh, bugger. Remote and primeval as were the methods of I San So and the Brisbane School, she felt... Bugger. Remote and primeval as were the methods of I San So and the Brisbane School, she yet... Remote and primeval as were the methods of I San So and the Brisbane School, she felt yet... That doesn't sound right. Why can't I get that? Remote and primeval as were the methods of I San So and the Brisbane School, she yet felt, she said, that study of them might repay the musician of today. They had freshness. They had, above all, ideas. Her lecture, which lasted 10 minutes, was well received, and at its conclusion she... That doesn't sound right. It sounds ominous. Remote and primeval as were the methods of I San So and the Brisbane School, she yet felt, she said, that study of them might repay the musician of today. They had freshness. They had, above all, ideas. Her lecture, which lasted for 10 minutes. Save it, good habits.
Above all, ideas.
Her lecture, which lasted 10 minutes, was well received, and at its conclusion she and many of her audience listened to a lecture on the sea. There were ideas to be got from the sea. The speaker had donned a respirator and visited...
Audience listened to a lecture on the sea.
There were ideas to be got from the sea.
Audience listened to a lecture on the sea.
There were ideas to be got from the sea. The speaker had donned a respirator and visited it lately. Then she fed, talked to many friends, had a bath, talked again, and summoned her bed. The bed was not to her liking. It was too large, and she had a feeling for a small bed. Complaint was useless, for beds were of the same dimensions all over the world, and to have had any alternative size.
And she had a feeling for a small bed.
Complaint was useless, for beds were of the same dimension all over the world, and to have had an alternative size would have involved vast alterations in the machine. Vashti isolated herself. It was necessary, for neither day nor night existed under the ground, and reviewed all that had happened since she had summoned the bed last.
And she had a feeling for a small bed.
Complaint was useless, for beds were of the same dimension all over the world, and to have had an alternative size would have involved vast alterations in the machine. Vashti isolated herself. It was necessary, for neither day nor night existed under the ground, and reviewed all that had happened since she had summoned the bed last. Ideas? Scarcely any. Events? Was Kuno's invitation an event? By her side, on the little reading desk, was a survival from the ages of litter. One book. This was the book of the machine. In it were the instructions.
This was the book of the machine.
In it were instructions against every possible contingency. If she was hot, or cold, or dyspeptic, or at loss for a word, she went to the book, and it told her which button to press. The Central Committee published it. In accordance with a growing habit, it was richly bound. Sitting up in the bed, she took it reverently in her hands. She glanced around the glowing...
With a growing habit, it was richly bound. With a growing habit, it was richly bound.
Sitting up in bed, she took it reverently in her hands. She glanced around the glowing room as if someone might be watching her. Then, half ashamed, half joyful, she murmured, "Oh, machine, oh, machine." Pardon me. That's bad form. Sitting up in bed, she took it reverently in her hands. She glanced around the glowing room as if someone might be watching her. Then, half ashamed, half joyful, she murmured, "Oh, machine, oh, machine," and raised the volume to her lips. Thrice she kissed it, thrice inclined her head, thrice she felt the delirium of acquiescence. Her ritual performed, she turned to page 1367, which gave the times of the departure of the airships from the island in the southern hemisphere under whose soil she lived, to the island in the northern hemisphere, whereunder lived her son. She thought, I have not the time. She made the room dark and slept. She awoke and made the room light. She ate and exchanged ideas with her friends, and listened to music, and attended lectures. She made the room dark, and slept. Above her, beneath her, and around her, the machine hummed eternally. She did not notice the noise, for she had been born with it in her ears. The earth, carrying her, hummed as it sped through silence, turning her now to the invisible sun, now to the invisible stars. She awoke and made the room light. "Kuno!" "I will not talk to you," he answered, and
And made the room light.
"Kuno!" "I will not talk to you," he answered, "until you come." "Have you been on the surface of the earth since we spoke last?"
Made the room light.
"Kuno!" "I will not talk to you," he answered, "until you come." "Have you been on the surface of the earth since we spoke last?" His image faded. Again, she consulted the book. She became very nervous and lay back in her chair, palpitating. Think of her as without teeth or hair. Presently, she directed the chair to the wall and pressed an unfamiliar button. The wall swung apart, slowly. Through the opening, she saw a tunnel that curved slightly, so that its goal was not visible. Noise there.
All swung apart, slowly.
Through the opening, she saw a tunnel that curved slightly, so that its goal was not visible. Should she go to see her son? Here was the beginning of the journey. Of course, she knew all about the communication system. There was nothing mysterious in it. She would summon a car, and it would fly with her down the tunnel until it reached the lift that communicated with the airship station. The system had been in use for many, many years, long before the universal establishment of the machine. And of course, she had studied the civilization that had immediately preceded her own, the civilization that had mistaken the functions of the system and had used it for bringing people to things instead of for bringing things to people. Those funny old days.
Here was the beginning of the journey.
It's hot. All right. How hot? Oh, 34 degrees. Whew. Quick blast of air. Turn the fan up. Oh, yeah. All right. That'll do. There we go.
Was the beginning of the journey. Was the beginning of the journey.
Of course, she knew all about the communication system. There was nothing mysterious in it. She would summon a car, and it would fly with her down the tunnel until it reached the lift that communicated with the airship station. The system had been in use for many, many years, long before the universal establishment of the machine. And, of course, she had studied the civilization that had immediately preceded her own, the civilization that had mistaken the functions of the system, and had used it for bringing people to things, instead of for bringing things to people. Those funny old days when men went for change of air instead of changing the air in their rooms. And yet, she was frightened of the tunnel. She had not seen it since her last child was born. It curved, but not quite as she remembered it. It was brilliant, but not quite as brilliant as a lecturer had suggested. Vashti was seized with the terrors of direct experience. She shrank back into the room. and the wall closed up again. "Kuno," she said, I cannot come to see you. I am not well." Immediately, an enormous apparatus fell onto her out of the ceiling. A thermometer was automatically inserted between her lips. A stethoscope was automatically laid upon her heart. She lay powerless. Cool pads soothed her forehead. Kuno had telegraphed to her doctor. So the human passions still blundered up and down in the machine. Vashti drank the medicine that the doctor projected into her mouth, and the machinery retired into the ceiling. The voice of Kuno was heard, asking how she felt. "Better," then with irritation. "But why do you not come to me instead?" "Because I cannot leave this place." "Why?" "Because at any moment something tremendous may happen." "Have you been on the surface of the earth yet?" "Not yet."
Something tremendous may happen.
Hang on. Pardon me.
Something tremendous may happen.
"Have you been on the surface of the earth yet?"
Something tremendous may happen.
"Oh, have you been on the surface of the earth yet?" "Not yet." "Then what is it?" "I will not tell you through the machine." She resumed her life. That needs a bigger pause.
I'll tell you through the machine.
She resumed her life. But she thought of Kuno as a baby, his birth, his removal to the public nurseries, her one visit to him there, his visits to her, visits which stopped when the machine had assigned him a room on the other side of the earth. "Parents, duties of," said the book of the machine, "cease at the moment of birth. P.422327483.
2327483.
True, but there was something special about Kuno. Indeed, there had been something special about all her children. And after all, she must brave the journey if he desired it. And something tremendous. Oh.
2327483.
True, but there was something special about Kuno. Indeed, there had been something special about all her children. And after all, she must brave the journey if he desired it. And something tremendous might happen. What did that mean? The nonsense of a youthful man, no doubt, but she must go. Again she pressed the unfamiliar button. Again the wall swung back, and she saw the tunnel that curved out of sight. Clasping the book, she rose, tottered onto the platform, and summoned the car. Her room closed behind her. The journey to the Northern Hemisphere had begun. Of course, it was perfectly easy. The car approached, and in it she found armchairs exactly like her own. When she signaled, it stopped, and she tottered into the lift. One other passenger was in the lift, the first fellow creature she had seen face to face for months. Few traveled in these days. Few traveled in these days, for, thanks to the advance of science, the Earth was exactly alike all over. Rapid intercourse. Intercourse? Is that for prawns? Few traveled in these days, for, thanks to the advance of science, the Earth was exactly alike all over. Rapid intercourse, from which the previous civilization had hoped so much, had ended by defeating itself. What was the good of going to Pekin when it was just like Shrewsbury? Why return to Shrewsbury when it would be just like Pekin? Men seldom moved their bodies. All unrest was concentrated in the soul. Nah, that needs work. Few travelled in these days, for, thanks to the advance of science, the earth was exactly alike all over. Rapid intercourse from which the previous civilization had hoped so much had ended by defeating itself. What was the good of going to Pekin when it was just like Shrewsbury? Why return to Shrewsbury when it would be just like Pekin? Men seldom moved their bodies. All unrest was concentrated in the soul. The airship service was a relic from the former age. I don't know if I'm going to get through all this tonight. I might have to come back. That's all right. We'll be right, boys. A bit here and a bit there. Why don't we try and get halfway through-ish? Maybe we'll try and get up to where I was up to the other day. All right.
Was concentrated in the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age. It was kept up because it was easier to keep it up than to stop it or diminish it. Damn it.
Concentrated in the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age. It was kept up because it was easier to keep it up than stop it or to diminish it. Than to stop it.
In the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age. It was kept up because it was easier to keep it up than stop it. Than to stop. Read the words.
Was concentrated in the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age.
Was concentrated in the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age. Was a relic from the former age.
Concentrated in the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age. Why is my voice cracking
Was
at this
concentrated
age?
in the soul.
The airship service was a relic from the former age. It was kept up because it was easier to keep it up than to stop it or to diminish it. But
And to stop it or to diminish it.
But it now far exceeded the wants of the population. Vessel after vessel would rise from the vomitories of Rye or of Christchurch, I use the antique names, would sail into the crowded sky and would draw up at the wharves of the south empty.
Stop it or to diminish it.
But it now far exceeded the wants of the population. Vessel after vessel would rise from the vomitories of Rye or of Christchurch, I use the antique names, would sail into the crowded sky and would draw up at the wharves of the south empty. So nicely adjusted was the system, so independent of meteorology, that the sky, whether calm or cloudy, resembled a vast kaleidoscope whereupon the same patterns periodically recurred. The ship on which Vashti sailed now started at
Same patterns periodically recurred.
the ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset, now at dawn.
Same patterns periodically recurred.
The ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset, now at dawn, but
Same patterns periodically recurred.
the ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset, now at dawn, but always as it passed above Reims, it would neighbor Palermo.
Same patterns periodically recurred.
The ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset, now at dawn, but always it passed above Reims. Wow, just read the words, bro. This tells me I'm tired.
Patterns periodically recurred.
The ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset and now at dawn, but always, as it passed above Reims, it would neighbor the ship that served between Helsingfors and the Brazils, and Every third time it surmounted the Alps, the fleet of... This is a weird sentence. The ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset, now at dawn. But always, as it passed above Rheims, it would neighbor the ship that served between Helsingfors and the Brazils. And every time it surmounted the Alps, the same pattern was periodically recurred. The ship on which Vashti sailed started now at sunset and now at dawn, but always, as it passed above Rheims, it would neighbor the ship that served between Helsingfors and the Brazils, and every third time it surmounted the Alps, the fleet of Palermo would cross its track behind. Night and day, wind and storm, tide and earthquake, impeded man no longer. He had harnessed Leviathan. All the old literature, with its praise of nature and its fear of nature, rang false as the prattle of a child. Yet, as Vashti saw the vast flank of the ship stained with exposure to the outer air, her horror of direct experience returned. It was not quite like the airship in the cinematophote. For example, cinematophote. It was not quite like the airship in the cinematophote. Horror of direct experience returned. It was not quite like the airship in the cinematophote. For one thing, it smelt. Not strongly or unpleasantly, but it did smell. And with her eyes shut, she should have known that a new thing was close to her. Then she had to walk to it from the lift, and known that a new thing was close to her. Known that a new thing was close to her. The horror of direct experience returned. It was not quite like the airship in the cinematophote. For one thing, it smelt. Not strongly or unpleasantly, but it did smell, and with her eyes shut, she should have known that a new thing was close to her. Then she had to walk to it from the lift, had to submit to glances from the other passengers. The man in front dropped his book, no great matter, but it disquieted them all. In the rooms, if the book was dropped, the floor raised it mechanically. But the gangway to the airship was not so prepared, and the sacred volume lay motionless. They stopped. The thing was unforeseen. And the man, instead of picking up his property, felt the muscles of his arm to see how they had failed him. Then someone actually said with direct utterance, "We shall be late." And they trooped on board, Vashti treading on the pages as she did so. Inside, her anxiety increased. The arrangements were old-fashioned and rough. There was even a female attendant to whom she would have to announce her wants during the voyage. Of course, a revolving platform ran the length of the boat, but she was expected to walk to it. To walk from it, sorry. The arrangements were old-fashioned and rough. The arrangements were old-fashioned and rough. Where am I? Oh, here we go. The arrangements were old-fashioned and rough. There was even a female attendant to whom she would have to announce her wants during the voyage. Of course, a revolving platform ran the length of the boat, but she was far out. It's a clicking table again. Of course, a revolving platform ran the length of the boat, but she was expected to walk from it to her cabin. Some cabins were better than others, and she did not get the best. She thought the attendant had been unfair, and spasms of rage shook her. The glass valves had closed. She could not go back. she saw at the end of the vestibule the lift in which she had ascended, going quietly up and down, empty. Beneath those corridors of shining tiles were rooms, tier below tier, reaching far into the earth. And in each room there sat a human being, eating or sleeping or producing ideas. And buried deep in the hive was her own room. Vashti was afraid. "Oh, machine, oh, machine," she murmured, and caressed her book.
And buried deep in the hive
Was her own room. Vashti was afraid. "Oh, machine, oh, machine," she murmured, and caressed her book, and was comforted. Then the sides of the vestibule seemed to melt together, as do the passages that we see in dreams. The lift vanished. The book that had been dropped slid to the left and vanished. Polished tiles rushed by like a stream of water. There was a slight jar, and the airship, issuing from its tunnel, soared above the waters of a tropical ocean. It was night. For a moment, she saw the coast of Sumatra, edged by the phosphorescence
of the waters of a tropical ocean. Of the waters of a tropical ocean.
It was night. For a moment, she saw the coast of Sumatra, edged by the phosphorescence of waves and crowned by lighthouses, still sending forth their disregarded beams. These also vanished, and only the stars distracted her. They were not motionless, but swayed to and fro above her head, thronging out of one skylight into another, as if the universe, and not the airship, was careening. And, as often happens on clear nights, they seemed now to be in perspective, now on a plane, now Oh, that's right. That's not right.
Out of one skylight into another.
And
Out of one skylight into another.
as if the universe, and not the airship, was careening. And, as often happens on clear nights, they seemed now to be in perspective, now on a plane, now piled tier beyond tier into the infinite heavens, now concealing infinity, a roof limiting forever the visions of men. In either case, they seemed intolerable. "Are we to travel in the dark?" called the passengers angrily, and the attendant, who had been careless, generated the light and pulled down the blinds of pliable metal. When the airships had been built, the desire to look When the airships had been built, the desire to look direct at things still lingered in the world. Hence the extraordinary number of skylights and windows, and the proportionate discomfort to those who were civilized and refined. Even in Vashti's cabin, one star peeped through a flaw in the blind, and after a few hours' uneasy slumber, she was disturbed by an unfamiliar glow, which was the dawn. Quick as the ship had sped westwards, the earth had rolled eastwards quicker still, and had dragged back Vashti and her companions towards the sun. All right. Drinks break. It's late here. It's just 3 minutes to midnight. Well, I don't know when you're listening to this or where you're watching from, boys, but, you know. All right, shall we take it back? What's this bit?
Quick as the ship.
Quick as the ship. Oh, here we go. Yep.
Which was the dawn.
Quick as the ship had sped westwards, the earth had rolled eastwards quicker still, and had dragged back Vashti and her companions towards the sun. Science could prolong the night, but only for a little, and those high hopes of neutralizing the earth's diurnal revolution had passed, together with hopes that were possibly higher. To keep pace with the sun, or even to outstrip it, had been the aim of the civilization preceding this. Racing aeroplanes had been built for the purpose, capable of enormous speed, and steered by the greatest intellects of the epoch. Round the globe they went, round and round, westward, westward, round and round, amidst humanity's applause. In vain. The globe went eastward quicker still. Horrible accidents occurred, and the committee of the machine, at the time rising into prominence, declared the pursuit illegal, unmechanical, and punishable by homelessness. Of homelessness more will be said later. Right.
Of homelessness and punishable
We'll start there.
homelessness.
Of homelessness more will be said later. Doubtless the committee was right, yet the attempt to defeat the sun aroused the last common interest that our race experienced about the heavenly bodies, or indeed about anything. It was the last time that men were compacted by the thinking. What was that? What was that? All right.
Or indeed about anything.
It was the last.
Or
Sorry.
about anything.
It was the last.
Or indeed about anything.
It was the last time that men were compacted by thinking of a power outside the world. The sun had conquered, yet it was the end of his spiritual dominion. Dawn, midday, twilight, the zodiacal path. Is it zodiacal path or zodiacal? I'll say zodiacal.
End of his spiritual dominion.
Dawn, midday, twilight, the zodiacal path touched neither men's lives nor their hearts, and science retreated into the ground to concentrate herself upon problems that she was certain of solving. So when Vashti found her cabin invaded by a rosy finger of light, she was annoyed and tried to adjust the blind. But the blind flew up altogether, and she saw through the skylight small pink clouds swaying against a background of blue, and as the sun crept higher, its radiance entered direct, brimming down the wall like a golden sea. It rose and fell with the airship's motion, just as waves rise and fall, but it advanced steadily as a tide advances. Unless she was careful, it would strike her face. A spasm of horror shook her, and she rang for the attendant. The attendant was
Shook her, and she rang for the attendant.
The attendant, too, was horrified, but she could do nothing. It was not her place to mention.
Shook her, and she rang for the attendant.
The attendant, too, was horrified, but it was not.
Shook her, and she rang for the attendant.
The attendant, too, was horrified, but she could do nothing. It was not her place to mend the blind. She could only suggest that the lady should change her cabin, which she accordingly prepared to do. People were almost exactly alike all over the world, but the attendant of the airship, perhaps owing to her exceptional duties, had grown a little out of the common. She had often to address.
Grown a little out of the common.
She had often to address passengers with direct speech.
Grown a little out of the common.
She had often to address passengers with direct speech, and this had given her a certain roughness and originality of manner. When Vashti swerved away from the sunbeams with a cry, she behaved by
Grown a little
Ah!
out of the common.
She had often to address passengers with direct speech, and this had given her a certain roughness and originality of manner. When Vashti swerved away from the sunbeams with a cry, she behaved barbarically. She put out her hand to steady her. "How dare you?" exclaimed the passenger. "You forget yourself." The woman was confused and apologized for not having let her fall. People never touched one another. The custom had become obsolete, owing to the machine. Where are we now?
Not having let her fall.
People never touched one another. The custom had become obsolete, owing to the machine. Where are we now? Asked Vashti haughtily. We are over Asia, said the attendant, anxious to be polite. Asia. Oh, you must excuse my common way of speaking. I have got into the habit of calling places over which I pass by their unmechanical names. Oh, I remember Asia. The Mongols came from it. Beneath us in the open air stood a city that was once called Simla. Have you ever heard of the Mongols and of the Brisbane School? No. Brisbane also stood in the open air. I'm going to make her try and sound haughty at this point.
I heard of the Mongols and of the Brisbane School. But Asia, the Mongols came from it.
Beneath us, in the open air, stood a city that was once called Simla. Have you ever heard of the Mongols and the Brisbane School?
A city that was once called Simla.
Have you ever heard of the Mongols and of the Brisbane School? No. Brisbane also stood in the open air. Those mountains to the right, let me show you them. She pushed back a metal blind. The main chain of the Himalayas was revealed. They were once called the roof of the world, those mountains. Ugh, what a foolish name. You must remember that, before the dawn of civilization, they seemed to be an impenetrable...
What a foolish name.
Well, you must remember that, before the dawn of civilization, they seemed to be an impenetrable wall that touched the stars. It was supposed that no one but the gods could exist above their summits. How we have advanced, thanks to the machine. How we have advanced, thanks to the machine, said Vashti. How we have advanced, thanks to the machine, echoed the passenger who had dropped his book the night before, and who was standing in the passage. And that white stuff in the cracks, what is it? Oh, I have forgotten its name. Cover the windows, please.
Oh, I have forgotten its name.
Cover the windows, please. Window.
Oh, I have forgotten its name.
Cover the window, please. These mountains give me no ideas. The northern aspect?
No ideas.
The northern aspect of the Himalayas was in deep shadow.
No ideas.
The northern aspect of the Himalayas was in deep shadow. On the Indian slope, the sun had just prevailed. The forests had been destroyed during the literature epoch for the purpose of making newspaper pulp. But the snows were awakening to their morning glory, and clouds still hung on the breasts of the... How do I say this? Whew. Let's just have a little break here. I feel like... What's the temperature then? We're at 34 again. And I'm feeling it. I'll be honest with you. I'm feeling it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so... Right, I'm just going to put a bit of fan on. I'm going to put the fan on for a minute. Oh, yeah. Whoo! Oh, that's good. cycling the air through, cycling it around, pushing it out the door, and then in a second we'll get going again. Right. Oh, and John's Sleep Stories is going live soon. This is the guy I was just talking about that he has another sleep story channel. Really cool channel, actually. He's very consistent, and I love that. He's also really friendly, and I love that. To be more like John, eh? I think he's going live in a second. And that's cool. Right. So, wow, what a weird mishmash of an algorithm. Right. Oh yeah, I was trying to find Kinchunchunga, or whatever it's called. Let's see if we can find it. I just want to be able to pronounce it, I'll be honest with you. Let's see if we can find it.
This is the list of the world's tallest mountains.
Mount Everest,
Mount
K2.
Everest, followed by K2, followed by Kanchenjunga, form the top.
Kanchenjunga. I'm not going to try and insult a whole culture of people this time by pronouncing something wrong. Okay, let's get back into it, eh? Right, so...
Baby pot for the purpose of making newspaper pulp.
But the snows were awakening to their morning glory, and the clouds still hung on the breasts of Kinchinchunga. In the plain were seen the ruins of cities, with diminished rivers creeping by their walls, and by the sides of these were sometimes the signs of vomitories marking the cities of today. Over the whole prospect, airships rushed. Whoa. Oh. Okay. Sorry. It's got a weird notification. I'm hoping it's a scam. Whoa. What the hell is that? I think we've just been charged for something we... Is it a fine? For a car that we rented when we were in the UK a little while ago. Weird. We might have to check that out tomorrow. I'm not sure if that's a fine or if someone's just trying to scam us. Anyway, hope it's not a scam. Okay. Right. And this is real engaging chat. Okay, so let's go. All right, let's do this. I'm getting a lot of notifications coming through at the moment, and I'm wondering if it's because America is waking up. The United States of America is waking up. That's when most people seem to do stuff on YouTube.
Stories marking the cities of today.
Oh, whoops. The cities of today.
The cities of today.
Over the whole prospect, airships rushed, crossing and intercrossing with incredible aplomb, and rising nonchalantly when they desired to escape the perturbations of the lower atmosphere and to traverse the roof of the world. "We have indeed advanced, thanks to the machine," repeated the attendant, and hid the Himalayas behind a metal blind. The day dragged wearily... Gosh. Yeah, okay, it's a follow-up. Email. Apparently we parked somewhere illegal. The fine has been paid on your behalf. To dispute the fine, well, it'd be nice to know where we parked the wrong place. Geez, car rental places really rip you a new one, don't they? So the fine is £15.60. The admin fee is 60 quid. That's ridiculous. Anyway, look, I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Real estate and car rental companies just have no soul. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm not sorry. They should be sorry. Anyway,
and hid the Himalayas behind a metal blind.
the day dragged wearily forward as I got fined for, like, parking in the wrong place and then charged a bajillion. Anyway, okay, let's start that again. Sorry, can you tell I have a chip on my shoulder about it? Okay, moving on.
And hid the Himalayas behind a metal blind.
Okay, there's nowhere to park in that country, right? England, sort yourself out. Like, anyway, a whole country full of people managed not to get fined most days, so I should probably just get over it. If they can do it, I should have been able to do it. Anyway, I will talk of it no more. Maybe I will.
The Himalayas behind a metal blind.
The day dragged wearily forward. The passengers sat, each in his cabin, avoiding one another with an almost physical repulsion, and longing to be once more under the surface of the earth. There were 8 or 10 of them, mostly young males, sent out from the public nurseries to inhabit the rooms of those who had died in various parts of the earth. The man who had dropped his book was on the homeward journey. He had been sent off
Died in various parts of the earth.
The man who had dropped his book was on the homeward journey. He had been sent to Sumatra for the purpose of propagating the race. Vashti alone was traveling by her private will. At midday, she took a second glance at the earth. The airship was crossing another range of mountains, but she could see little owing to the clouds. Masses of black rock hovered below her and merged indistinctly into grey. Their shapes were fantastic. One of them resembled a prostrate man. No ideas here, murmured Vashti, and hid the Caucasus behind a metal blind. In the evening she looked again. They were crossing a golden sea, in which lay many small islands and one peninsula. She repeated, no ideas here, and hid Greece behind a metal blind. What a world. Now see, we're up to part 2. And I actually think I'm going to probably leave it for tonight, eh? How much have I just read? I've read 34. Wow, this is going to be long enough, isn't it? Whoo-wee. So we've read, I'll click on the word counter here, and it looks like we've only read 4,000 words. But you know what? I usually only do stories that are about 3,000 to 5,000 words, so that's about one story's worth. We are going to continue this tomorrow night. So thanks very much, boys, for hanging out with me, as always, here in Boothie. That's what I call the booth, by the way, Boothie. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. It's, not the most original name, because I call it Boothie, and this is a recording booth, but, I like it. Do I have to have a reason? I just called it something. Right, okay, I'm gonna make that into a new audio file, and I'm just gonna test it out. Wow, can't get much more ASMR than yawning into the microphone. Sorry about that, boys. I'm really tired. It's about 20 minutes past midnight, or just before. I am really valuing the new haircut, though. I've noticed, in past streams, I've been, fiddling with my hair the whole time. And it's because I'm on camera, and I know I'm on camera. And, 2026, embracing the bald and embracing the channel, and trying to, embrace life a little bit more, get out and be a bit more social than last year. Try not to park illegally and get fined from overseas once I've left the country like cowards. Whoa, okay, everyone chill out. Okay, I said I wasn't going to mention it anymore. Okay, right. I'm not bitter. Okay, righto. well, I'm probably going to stop the stream there now. So yeah, see you guys next time for part 2. There's 3 parts, and they're all about the same length. So yeah, the next part is going to be pretty exciting because that's when she'll get to her son, and he'll tell her all about his adventures / misadventures, and everything that he's planning on doing next. So looking forward to it. All right, love you, boy.